This year, for the first time, we've broken free of the mold of hotels. And we are here in this wonderful location, which is the AVM Heritage Museum. I got a call a few months ago from Mr. Guhan, and he said that he would like me to come and see the museum. I came, he was waiting here, and he took me on a walk through, explaining the heritage of many of these cars that are here on both sides, patiently documented, lovingly restored, taken care of. In some cases, a home away from home for some of the cars whose owners have told him, please keep it here. And he's taking care of them as well. Apart from that, so many different pieces of equipment from AVM Studios, including the lights that are hanging there from the catwalks. So every item here in this room has got a story to say, and he has collected them all most lovingly. It is very easy in India, as we all know, to lose all the heritage that we have. And the value of it is appreciated only after it is all lost. So, அந்த கார் இருந்ததே, ஆமாம் சார், அது பீஸாக போயிடுது. அந்த பிக்சர் இருந்ததே, அதை எலி கடிச்சிடுது. இந்த ஃபைல்ஸ் இருந்ததே, அது வெள்ளத்தில் போயிடுது. This is the standard frustrating experience that we have. And I think this is a story with a huge difference, what Mr. Guhan has done. And it is not easy. It is also very frustrating in its own way, I'm sure, to hold on to all this and to take care of it. So I said that naturally, being inside AVM Studios, this would perhaps be the best place to start the week and to have Mohan, who else other than Mohan, to come and talk about AVM Studios. So Mohan came here along with me one day, and I could realize that even then the presentation was ready. And he only had to fine-tune it here and there. Mohan, I hope you will do some of the mimicry also that you did that day. Not all of it, but some of it at least. And what I loved the most, and I had an encore of it when Mohan and I traveled recently to Sri Lanka as well. So I look forward to the presentation. But before that, a few words from Mr. Guhan. And Guhan, I want to really thank you for all that you have done by way of hospitality today, the fantastic tea that you have, high tea that you have given us, and the attention to detail, taking care of the parking, making sure that people are able to come seamlessly, putting it all together. Thanks a lot. I only wish Mr. Muthaiya was here. I also wish your grandfather had been here to witness what is happening today. Mr. Muthaiya would have been delighted to know that AVM Studios was... your dad and Mr. Muthaiya were very good friends. And any article we wrote on AVM or any aspect of AVM, Mr. Saravanan will send us a letter. We would look forward to it. Muthaiya will ask after 1 week, has Saravanan sent you a letter? Yes, sir, it has come. Why don't you show it to me? And then we will read it together. And then Mr. Muthaiya will call Mr. Saravanan and speak to him. And then they will chat about various things. So that was the love that Mr. Saravanan has had for Madras Musings. I am very happy that the paper has produced an event today where Mohan is talking about the history of AVM Studios. I request Mr. Guhan to say a few words before we hand over the mic to Mohan.
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the AVM family, I have great pleasure in welcoming you to this talk by Mohan. Mohan and me have been friends for a very long time. My father has been a part of his journey with film history, and unfortunately my father will not be able to join us today. On behalf of him and the rest of the family, we give you a very warm welcome, and thank you, Mohan, in advance.
Thank you, Mulali. The tradition doesn't die. An actor, when he talks to his producer, calls him Mudalali. And I've had the pleasure and privilege of receiving a check signed by M.S. Guhan for over 10 years of my career. My association with AVM, it started with the film Setupati IPS, which is somewhere there, and then went through Minsara Kanavu, and then about at least 1,500 television serial episodes which I would have done for AVM. In that sense, Mr. Saravanan guided me, shaped me. I had free access to him, and it was so many things you can learn from him. In fact, I should probably do a talk on Mr. Saravanan rather than his father. I remember once shooting with Mr. Rajinikanth, every time somebody came up, Rajini will stand up, greet them. I was sitting next to him because Rajini stood up, I had to get up. 8 or 10 people, every time they came in, Rajini will stand up. So now ஒரு ஸ்டேஜுக்கு அப்புறம் I guess I can now and then switch from English to Tamil. Is there anybody here who can't? If you're here, then I'm sorry. So I said, சார் என்ன சார் இது எப்போ பார்த்தாலும் எழுந்து எழுந்து இப்படி பண்ணிட்டு இருந்தா நான் எப்படி சார்னு தொப்ப குறையும் எழுந்துருங்க. மிஸ்டர் சரவணன் ரூமுக்கு போயிருக்கீங்களா அப்படின்னாரு. நிறைய தடவை போயிருக்கேன். ஒரு முறையாவது முதலாளி உட்காந்துக்கிட்டு கை நீட்டி வாங்கன்னு சொல்லியிருக்காரா? ஒவ்வொரு முறையும் எழுந்து நின்று வாங்கன்னு நீங்கள் உட்காந்த அப்புறம் தான் அவர் உட்கார்றாரு. That is the kind of respect we need to learn from such people. So that respect, Guhan continues the tradition. Thank you. Thank you, Sri Ram. Over to the subject. To Lakshmi, Achi and Avichi Chettiar was born Meiyappan, 28th July 1907. Avichi Chettiar, his father, ran, you could call it an early form of a supermarket, a departmental store. It was called A.V. and Sons. It was in Kallukatti, an area in Karaikudi. Avichi's father ran a shop in Malaysia, but Avichi did not want to go into the traditional business of financing, so he broke away and came and started this business. He was a one-man show, so whenever he left Karaikudi to come to the city to buy stuff and all, a board will hang outside the store saying, Sarakku kolmudalukkaga vidumurai 3 நாட்கள், gone for procurement holiday 3 days. When Meiyappa Chettiar, in future I will refer to him as AVM, when AVM was in 8th standard, he just finished it, his father developed cataract and couldn't attend to the finer points in the shop, and therefore young Meiyappan was co-opted to run the business. Meiyappan came and took over, and then he brought a lot of innovation. For instance, he was the first one to introduce this concept of tube light in Karaikudi. Till then there were no tube lights. He came to the city, brought tube lights. And then he was the first shop to have a rolling shutter. So as you cranked it, it rolled up, and as you cranked it, it rolled down. And a huge crowd used to gather outside the shop to watch this wonderful thing happening. The steel sheet rising up by itself. Introduction of tube lights and this. Then came the musical wonder, the gramophone plate. One of the hottest selling items in those days were gramophone records. Not LPs as we saw them later, the vinyl ones. These were shellac printed gramophone records rolling out at 78 RPM. Amazing music. By 1930s, Meiyappan had acquired the distribution for HMV and Columbia for Madurai, Ramnad, Trichy, Tirunelveli, Pudukkottai province. Then he says, why shouldn't I manufacture this music myself? Okay, this is Saraswati Stores, something which he started. In case anybody wants to see this, 78 RPM, original from Saraswati Stores. It's in a boxed collection. I'm going to talk about these boxes, thanks. They made packs like Ramayana, Kovalan, etc. This is Ramayana, I think. These were one of the hottest selling items then. Look at the weight. If you can later come and, if no, in fact, I'd rather give it back. He signs up with Odeon, a label, to make records. He had to record the music here, get the shellac wax mold ready, send it to Germany, they'll press and send it back. This was the rage. In fact, film music was such that it had topped the charts. MKT, P.U. Chinnappa, and then of course the old play people, all of them were hotcakes. Unfortunately, M.K. Tyagaraja Bhagavathar wanted 10,000 rupees per song in the 1930s. He wanted 10,000 rupees per song from Meiyappan. AVM, the eternal businessman, found one fellow called Rajagopal Sharma. And this Rajagopal Sharma's only asset was, he had a voice that was almost identical to M.K. Tyagaraja Bhagavathar. Thurayur Rajagopala Sharma. AVM quietly hired Mr. Rajagopal Sharma to record all MKT hits. And MKT, when he found that he was losing out business because one Rajagopal Sharma was singing his songs and his records were selling as good as this, conveniently it will only say Amba if the song was say or something like that. No name of the singer will be mentioned. You won't know if it is MKT or Rajagopal Sharma. So MKT then in the end decided that no boss, this won't do, came, negotiated with AVM for a more reasonable figure and started recording for Odeon. Like the most famous big hit was Radhe Unakku Kobamagadadi, followed by Nyanakkan Ondru. All these were recorded by MKT for Odeon for Mr. Meiyappan. In 1931, something splendid happened. Films talked. This was such a huge thing for people to watch. A film talking. Pesardhiya. And the great thing was, they made a film in 1933 called Valli Thirumanam. You will come back to Valli Thirumanam made by Mr. Meiyappan later, but this was an original Valli Thirumanam. Between Calcutta and coming to Madras, one film reel of about 10-12 minutes was lost. But they decided to show the film. People were so fascinated with the story, and they anyway knew the story of Valli Thirumanam, that 10 minutes in the middle missing, nobody noticed it. Till the end, nobody noticed it. They just thought the film medium, they must have jumped from point A to point C instead of going to point B, because point B was covered by that one reel. In 1934, AVM decides to start Saraswati Sound Productions. 1935 makes his first film, Alli Arjuna. This was shot in New Theatres, Calcutta, with popular stage actors K.S. Ananthanarayan Iyer and K.R. Kantimati Bai. They shot the film, everything was over, then they came back to Madras. AVM Potu Pakarar, Potu Pata. Mr. K.S. Ananthanarayan Iyer had a problem. He couldn't stand bright lights. So all through the film, he had closed his eyes. Start camera, kanna moodu. Dialogue lam pesu, paadu, cut, kanna thara. All through the film, the man had his eyes closed. If Arjuna had his eyes closed, what did he see in Alli? I don't know. In any case, film was a disaster. AVM lost 80,000 rupees in 1935. His partners got afraid, decided to part, but AVM says no. Let me see if this medium or me, one of us will have to come out unscathed. So decides to form his other company. This was now called Saraswati Talkie Producing Company. On the 7th of November 1936, he releases Ratnavali with Maharajapuram Krishnamurthy, brother of Maharajapuram Vishwanath Iyer, and the Ratnabai sisters. Again, movie was shot. Cameraman said, "Sir, Puddu camera Germany lend vandirukku. We will have a nice film, this, that, the other." AVM filled with hopes goes and sees the movie. There was what is called an audio-video sync problem. Hero vaaya therande சொல்லிடுவான். 1 minute later, வணக்கம் அப்படின்னு வரும். So AVM didn't know what to do. Fortunately, in those days, they spoke slowly. If you remember those old films, Anna, Ippo, Namba, Veetukku Polama. This was the speech. So between Anna and Ippo, AVM cut the film. He sat and tried to sync the whole thing back. Succeeded somewhat, but it still wasn't perfect. One more film, one more loss. 6th of July 1938, he makes Nandakumar with T.R. Mahalingam and Devaki. Devaki's voice was very weak. So he gets a singer called Lalita Venkatraman from Bombay to sing all her songs. And thus was introduced in South Indian cinema, probably Indian cinema, the concept of playback singing, which means some singer will sing the song, the artist on screen will only open and close their mouth in sync and in accordance to that song. Playback singing. So today, of course, we had legends like SPB and T.M. Soundarajan, PBS. All these playback singers must thank Lalita Venkatraman and Shri A.V.Meiyappan for a career that was opened out for them. This film too was a loss. By this time, his partners wanted to quit. AVM thought the answer is having my own studio, my own equipment, my own technicians, everything under my control, so that such problems don't come up. Backward integration from product to manufacturing, etc. He started Pragati Pictures Bangalore Limited with a few people. They started acquiring land there. Equipment was ordered. Unfortunately, the World War had broken out, so equipment shipment was delayed. Everything was happening. And there was a problem at Saraswati stores because his long-standing partner, in fact, AVM refers to him not as partner. In his book, he calls him his mentor, his guide, one Mr. Narayana Iyengar. Those of you who probably were from Lloyd Road side, today it's called Avvai Shanmugam Salai and V.P. Raman Salai, you will know that there was one Narayanan and company there, next to the house of the Daddas, Mahendra Dadda, that Dadda and co. Mr. Narayan was more of a guide to Mr. Meiyappan. But sadly, one morning Narayan calls Meiyappan and says, I want to buy you out of Saraswati stores. So Mena was struck. He said, okay, if you are asking, I can't say no. It's all right. Few days later, the same person calls and says, no Meiyappan, you buy me out. He says, okay, you decide. In the end, they struck a deal and Mr. Narayan share was bought by Mr. Meiyappan, making him sole custodian of Saraswati Stores Limited. Those of you from early Madras will remember that AVM Dasa Dosa opposite LIC, that is where Saraswati Stores was. Because of his increased commitment to running Saraswati Stores in Madras without a partner, he called up his Bangalore partners in the film production company and said, I cannot operate from Bangalore. I would like to shift to Madras. That time, the Bangalore partners said, no boss, if you want, you buy us out, take everything, you set up shop in Madras, do it yourself. We can't come to Madras. At that time, one Mr. S.Y. Krishnaswamy, an ICS officer, suggested to Meiyappan saying, the Vijayanagaram Palace in Mylapore can be used for a studio. It's beautiful, it's large, everything is pakka, ready-made, tailor-made for you. The only problem is nobody wants to occupy the place because it is said that one of the royal family ladies hung herself there and her ghost was haunting the place. So nobody is willing to move into the palace. So AVM said, let us see ghost. I've had 3 films which have flopped. It can't scare me more than this ghost can. So it's all right. Goes, sets up shop. And Meiyappan sir was a shrewd businessman. So they arrived at a rent of 325 rupees a month for the entire property. Even today it stands. It is known as Admiralty House in Mandavali. At one time Sun TV had its office there. When he walked in, he found that the place was filled with Ravi Verma paintings and chandeliers and objets d'art and curios and antiques and whatnot. He said, all this will go. If I move in here for a film studio, it will go. So he quickly asked his people to gather all the old stuff, store them in a couple of rooms in one side of the house, and called the landlord and said, I am storing all your valuables. I am going to charge you 75 rupees a month. So from 325, it was less 75, 250 was the rent for the studio. Thus was born Pragati Studios in 1940. Bhu Kailas was the first film.
Hara Hara Deva Shivoham.
This was followed by Vasanta Sena, Harishchandra, Vayadi, Poli Panchali, Sabapati, Yenmanaivi. Harishchandra is something we need to talk about because what happened was, it was made in Kannada, but AVM thought it will do well in Tamil also. So for the first time, with the help of one Mr. Srinivasa Raghavan, an audio engineer, he had the film, full film dubbed in Tamil. Thus was born the concept of dubbing a film.
ನೋಡು ಮಗನೇ ನಿನ್ನ ಜೊತೆಯಲ್ಲಿರಲು ನಾನೇ ಬಂದಿರುವೆನು ಮಾತನಾಡು ಮಗನೇ ரோட்டாஷ்வா இதோ பார் மகனே உன்னுடனே இருக்க நானே வந்திருக்கிறேன் வார்த்தையாடு மகனே லோகிதாசா.
Again the first to bring about full feature film dubbing. Today if me and my daughter and all are known in remote parts of India like Rajkot or something, because our films are being dubbed into Hindi, Gujarati, Marwadi, I don't know. I really don't know. The first dubbed film was released on the 6th of January 1944. Earlier, AVM completed the film Sabapati. This is Sabapati and next Srivalli. Okay, we'll go back. He then started the production of Srivalli. Srivalli, he cast young T.R. Mahalingam as Murugan. Earlier, he had cast T.R. Mahalingam in Nandakumar. Now he cast him as Murugan and Kumari Rukmani as Valli. Kumari Rukmani is the mother of the famous actress Lakshmi of Julie fame. When they started singing, he found that the voice was not matching at all because Mahalingam had a Ganeer, bold voice and Rukmani's voice was weak and lacked that punch. So for the first time again in films, he decides to do what is called post-syncing. Post-syncing is exactly like the kind of dubbing we all go to the studio to do after we shoot. So the sound is not captured at the time of shooting. We go to a studio, sit, as it's running, we give the same dialogue, try to match the same emotion, same thing, and sync the lip. The beauty about Tamil is that, or for that matter, most Indian languages, Papa, Bha, Ma. These are the 5 consonants for which the lip closes. For everything else, the lip is open. Lip open. So, inga oru pa, anga oru pa, lip open. Sadagopan. You can fit in anything else in the meanwhile. So, this time, he got P.A. Periyanayaki, a famous singer, to come and match what Rukmani has already sung. So, they were playing the film. Well, the orchestra and Periyanayaki sat and they watched, and to match her, they sang post-syncing song. One more first to Mr. A.V.Meiyappan. Film was a huge hit. Appa. So Mr. Meiyappan says he and Rajeshwari Ma decide to take a holiday. They go to Kashmir. They come back and find that they don't have a studio, because the partners have decided to sell the studio. He said, he has written saying, if I only wish they had offered it to me, I would have bought it off them and I would have continued. So anyway, that went. Now AVM decides it's high time I do this whole business on my own. I can no longer have this, it's indecent to have partners, so let me go it alone. Decides to shift to his native place, and just before Karaikudi, there is a place called Devakottai, and there is a train station called Devakota Rasta. Devakota Rasta lendu exactly a few furlongs later, the Zamindar of Devakottai, one Somanatha Chettiar, had set up a huge drama hall, auditorium kind of place. And next to it was again open land. So AVM goes, negotiates with Somanath Chettiar and says, why you want to run drama and all that? It's not your business. Let me rent it out from you. And he rents out this huge drama hall and the land appurtenant to that, converts the whole place and starts AVM Studios. Can we have the logo? How many of you remember the theme song that used to go with this? All right. Good. I have a story about that. This incidentally was designed by one Mr. G.H. Rao, who was a designer, film designer. So when AVM wanted to release his first film from Devakota, he calls his music chief, R. Sudarshan Master. He was called Master. So he tells Master, நம்ம லோகோக்கு ஒரு ஃபர்ஸ்ட் கிளாஸ் டியூன் போட்டு கொடுங்க. இனிமே எல்லா படம் starting, this is what is going to come, so please do it. He said, okay. Then he tells Meiyappan Chettiar that I want to bring 15 musicians from Chennai because I like some more violins and some accordion and trumpets and the whole works. So Meiyappan listens to him patiently and says, Vana, simple போடுங்க. இல்ல Gemini மாதிரி, modern theatres மாதிரி. He said, simple போடுங்க Master, please. எதுவாக இருந்தாலும் நாளைக்கு வேணும். I want the tune day after tomorrow, recording சொல்லிட்டேன். He didn't know what to do. Sudarshan Master was upset. He couldn't sleep that night. So early in the morning he wakes up and என்ன பண்ணுறதுன்னு தெரியல, அப்படி பார்த்துட்டு he switches on the All India Radio. And you remember the All India Radio song, or something like that? And then Sudarshan Master listens to it, engrossed, and says, with one instrument and a few piano chords accompanying it, such captivating music. So why can't I make one for Chettiar? He had with him one clarinet and 2 violinists, and he on the harmonium. So he tells the violinists also, Ningalum Thevilla, composes a tune for clarinet with Sudarshan Master doing the tambura behind. The original old versions, if you see, it is only clarinet and tambura. He goes, records the song, shows it to Mr. Meiyappan, who immediately approves it. Thus was born the logo and the theme song for AVM. Life was going smoothly. Everything was fine. Somanand Chettiar, the landlord, looks at the huge pile of cash that Meiyappan is bringing home every month with each of his films, comes to him and says, I am raising the rent. But before that, AVM wants to do his first film, which is Naam Iruvar. In the drama called Naam Iruvar, it was filled with songs by Subramanya Bharatiyar. So AVM says, I must put Bharatiyar songs in the film, but for me to have Bharatiyar songs, I must have the rights. So the search for who has the rights of Bharatiyar songs starts. From the family, it is sold to X, X sells to Y sells to one company, Surajmal and Sons, who bought it for 600 rupees. He goes to the Surajmal and Sons and says, can you sell the whole thing to me? Bharatiyar song rights. They realize this man is big, but he is also desperate. So they say 10,000 rupees. Way back in 1945, Mr. Meiyappan coughs up 10,000 rupees, buys the entire rights of the Bharatiyar songs. Years later, TK's brothers wanted to do a film and they wanted the rights of a Bharatiyar song and they were told that A.V.Meiyappan had it. So he comes and approaches Meiyappan and says, Meiyappan, I believe you have Bharatiyar songs. Yes, I have. Do you think you should have it? What do you mean? Don't you think it belongs to the public? Don't you think it belongs to the Tamil-speaking public? So what do you want me to do? Give it. Donate it to the government. And after some protracted negotiations, without a single paise, A.V.Meiyappan donated the entire Bharatiyar song rights, essay rights, everything to the government of Tamil Nadu, which is why today we can all boldly take a Bharatiyar song in any medium we want. Nobody can question us, at least not the author. That is one aspect of Mr. Meiyappan. Since 10,000 rupees was the asking price, rent, everything seems to be revolved around 10. His landlord wanted 10,000, Surajmal wanted 10,000. Meiyappan decides that it's high time he does something about this. It's becoming too much of a nonsense. So comes to Chennai. One of his friends tells him, there is this area after the railway bridge near Mambalam. If you proceed, there is a village called Vadapalani where there is an old Murugan temple. After that is a good area. Already Star Combines no studio anga tharandutaanga. As you walk out of AVM, when you go home, on the opposite side you will see a huge cluster of flats with a small park in the center. That was where Star Combines was. That was the first studio to come to Kodambaka. Then almost simultaneously Vijayavahini and AVM came up. A.V.Meiyappan says, okay, let me go and see the place. They said, sir, neenga poradhukku road la kedaiyadhu, jatka vandil dhaan ponom, kudura vandila. So Mr. Meiyappan and his friend come and see this plot where we are all happily sitting. 10 acres of land belonging to an Islamic family who ran a leather business here, tanning and all that. And when independence came, they opted to shift to Pakistan and this became what was known as an evacuee property. They left it in the hands of the government. Mr. Meiyappan paid a princely sum of 37,500 for 10 acres of land here. As you came, you would have seen in those days AVM Rajeshwari Theatre was there. Then you see this huge hospital. So that whole block from there right to the end is this property. Yeah, there it is. AVM Studios when it started. Huts. Devakota Rasta. You see the Keethukottagai floors. AVM did not waste one paise. He packed the entire studio into vehicles, brought it here and set up shop. As you came walking down this side, you will see floor number 3. Floor number 3 was the original floor number 1, where all the old material from Devakota Rasta came and he set up shop here. And as long as AVM were making movies, they had their puja at the Puliyar Kovil, followed by Muhurat shot here, floor number 3. Today it's floor 3, then it was floor 1. After completing the film, he released the film. Kumari Kamala singing Aduvome Palli Paduvome was a raging hit. So his decision to use Bharatiyar songs was more than justified.
Aduvome Palli Paduvome Ananda Sudantiram Adandu Vittom Aduvome.
The The entire studio, as I said, was shifted. The first film was Varkai.
எண்ணி எண்ணி பார்க்க மனம் இன்பம் கொண்டாடுதே என்னை அறியாமல் உள்ளம் துள்ளி விளையாடுதே என்னை அறியாமல் உள்ளம் துள்ளி விளையாடுதே எண்ணி எண்ணி பார்க்க மனம் இன்பம் கொண்டாடுதே.
This is earlier one was with the hut. Slowly the huts gave way to the buildings. That road is probably the road where you see the white car. That's probably the road which is out there. Probably. I'll stand corrected by Mr. Guhan later. The main gate with the ubiquitous Urundai. AVM Urundai is something phenomenal. Thank you, Guhan, for acquiring those 64 square feet and retaining it, because in their division it sort of would have gone elsewhere. So he's taken it on himself, repaired the whole thing, and it still lights up the night sky here. For some of us, I think that is completely emotional, a trip. Rajini refers to it in one of his films also. He'll be coming in search of a film song, and the Urundiya paathu appadi paathutu ulla varuvaru. AVM Studio at its peak, ulla varadu was impossible. Just imagine, we are now, 1, 2, 3 floor, and floors go on. As you enter, you will probably find Raj Kapoor shooting here. Next, N.T. Ramarao.
పంటలు రేపే నెలరాజా ఈ తుంటరితనము మీకేలా వలపులు రేపే విరులారా ఈ శిలపై రాలిన ఫలమేమి.
Then Akineni Nageshwar Rao.
పగడాల జాబిలి చూడు గగనాల దాగెను నేడు
కోటి అందాల నారాణి అందిన ఈ రేయి ఎందుకులే నెలరేడు.
M.G. Ramachandra.
ராஜாவின் பார்வை ராணியின் பக்கம் கண் தேடுதே சொர்க்கம் கை மூடுதே வெட்கம் பொன்மாலை மயக்கம் பொன்மாலை மயக்கம்.
Gemini.
நிலவே என்னிடம் நெருங்காதே நீ நினைக்கும் இடத்தில் நான் இல்லை.
Shivaji.
சக்சஸ் தேச ஞானம் கல்வி ஈசன் பூசை எல்லாம் காசு முன் செல்லாதடி குதம்பாய் காசு முன் செல்லாதடி. ஈசனும் ஈசனார் பூசையும் தேசத்தில் காசுக்கு பின்னாலே குதம்பாய் காசுக்கு பின்னாலே.
All shooting here. Everyone was shooting here. So obviously the security would have been tripled. So heavy was the security that Krishnan Panchu, you must have heard of their directors, Krishnan Panchu.
அந்த நாள் பாட்டே இல்லாதது முதல் படம் இந்தியாவில் எடுத்து அவர் தான். எவ்வளோ தைரியம் இருக்கணும், கணேசனை போட்டு ஒரு படம் எடுத்தார். பட் கிரெடிட் செட்டியார் அது மாதிரி இந்தியாவில் யாரும் எடுக்கலன்னு நினைக்கிறேன்.
Krishnan in his later years, one day he was passing by, he says, சரி AVM குள்ளே போய் பார்க்கலாமேன்னு உள்ளே திரும்பிட்டார். உள்ளே திரும்பினா வாட்ச்மேன் நிறுத்திட்டான். என் பேர் கிருஷ்ணன், நீங்கள் யாராக இருந்தால் எங்களுக்கு என்ன சார், உங்களுக்கு இப்போ ஃபிலிம் உள்ளே இருக்குதா அப்படின்னா அந்த மேனேஜரை ஃபோன் பண்ண சொல்லுங்கள். இல்லைப்பா இங்கே ரங்கனா ஜிஆர்னு ஒருத்தர் இருப்பார், அவரை கூப்பிடு. ரொம்ப நேரம் கேட்டு பார்த்துருக்கார், அவன் மசியில். அப்புறம் என்னவோ நடக்கிறதுன்னு ஜிஆர் கேம் அவுட் அண்ட் சா கிருஷ்ணன் ஸ்டாண்ட். அண்ணா நீங்கள் என்னண்ணா இங்கே பண்ணுறீங்கன்னு ஓடி வந்து, ஏன்டா நிறுத்துறேன். இல்லைப்பா அவன் வேலையை செய்கிறான், நான் பாட்டுக்கு ஏதோ உங்ககிட்ட ஒன்றும் ஃபோன் பண்ணி சொல்லலை, ஸ்டூடியோலாம் எப்படி இருக்குன்னு பார்த்துட்டு போகலாம். தட் வாஸ் தி எக்ஸ்டென்ட் டு விச் செக்யூரிட்டி வாஸ். ஜஸ்ட் கான் வாக் இன். So many other films that the list is endless. I wanted to stop there at Varkai because that is where the Varkai of this property, this studio, this premises began. I'd like to share with you some more stories, interesting anecdotes. For a start, early in the morning, 5:30, A.V.Meiyappan will walk up into every nook and cranny of the studio. He either had his PA with him noting down in a pad, or he had his dictaphone in the later years. So he will keep asking, அசோக மரம் வந்து நான் இதாக இருக்குது, பட்டு பிடிச்சிருக்கு அப்புறம் then இந்த இடத்துல ஏதோ ஒரு ஸ்மெல் வருது, பேடாக இருக்குது, அதை முதல்ல அட்டென்ட் பண்ணுங்க. Then he'll open all the toilets to see if they're okay. ஏன் இன்னைக்கு இந்த third floor toilet சரியா இல்லையா? This, that, the other instructions will be given. By lunch time, report has to go to him as to whether it has been attended to or not, because 5:30 p.m. he'll go for his evening walk and he'll go and check all that which he had mentioned, if it has been corrected or not. Eye for detail with respect to the studio. I'm going to come to the stories about eye for detail with respect to cinema. In fact, not one, not two, 100 instances are there where AVM has said, sorry, I will not accept a compromise. I will start with this story from Nagesh.
மேஜர் சந்திரகாந்த் ஒரு நாளைக்கு அப்பிச்சிருக்காரு. அவர் அந்த நாகேஷை கூப்பிடப்பா. எது கூப்பிட்றாரு அப்படின்னு போனேன். இங்கே வாங்க சார், வாங்க, நீங்கள் பண்ணியிருக்கிறத பாருங்கள் அப்படின்னு மூவியாலெலாம் காமிச்சார். அது ஒரு பாட்டு வரும், கல்யாண சாப்பாடு போடவான்னு. அது நான் படம் பார்த்தேன், கிட்ட பார்க்கலாம். அது மூவியாலில் பார்த்தா கல்யாண சாப்பாடு போடவா என்று இருந்தது. ஏப்பா முதல்ல மாதிரி இப்படி திறந்துருக்கே, எல்லாரும் வா வான்ட்டு எல்லாரும் தூங்கிடுவானே, அப்புறம் மறுபடியும் அவனை எழுப்பி மறுபடியும் கதை கொண்டு வந்து கதையே போயிடுமேப்பா. முதல் லைனு அதையே கெடுத்துச்சு. உனக்காக இன்னொரு தடவை செட்டு போட்டிருக்கிறேன், காலில் கையில் அடிபடாமல் இருக்கிறதுக்காக மரத்தூடெலாம் தூங்கியிருக்கேன், இந்த லைனை மாத்திரம் கொஞ்சம் பாடிருக்கீங்களா அப்படின்னாரு. சரின்ட்டு அதுக்கப்புறம் ஒழுங்காக பாடினோடனே ஓகே ஆகிப்போச்சு. எதுக்கு சொல்ல வரேன், ஒரு சின்ன தப்பா இருந்தாலும் அவருக்கு தப்புன்னு பட்டதை உடனடியாக திருத்திடணும். அது எவ்வளவு செலவானாலும் பரவாயில்ல. நமக்கு தெரியாம ஜனங்கள் பார்த்து 100 தப்பு சொல்ல போறான், அது வேற விஷயம். நமக்கு தெரிஞ்ச தப்பு முதல்ல திருத்திடுவோமே அப்படிங்கிற ஒரு மிக உயர்ந்த எண்ணம் கொண்டவர் A.V.Meiyappan. அதனால தான் இவ்வளவு சக்சஸ்ஃபுல் பிக்சர்ஸ் அவரால் எடுக்க முடிஞ்சது.
For one line, he had the set re-erect. And he's not done this once. He's done this 1,000,000 times in 1,000,000 films. Mr. K. Balachandar has, in the same film, said more than once he has come back. He was very particular about how people appear. For instance, he said when people are working in this heat, you will tend to sweat. When you sweat, your underarms sweat comes and your dress becomes wet here. You get a wet patch that looks ugly on screen. So he had huge fans kept in the set where all the actors after one shot will have to go and stand like this in front of the fan to dry it out. For the hero and the heroine, he made multiple sets of costumes. I mean, he was such a perfectionist. We come to Parashakti. The story of Parashakti is well known. Perumal Mudaliyar of National Pictures joins hands with AVM to make this film. In a function in 2000, when we got to release a special cover for A.V.Meiyappan, L.V. Prasad, K. Subramaniam and a few others, we had invited Mr. Shivaji Ganeshan as the chief guest. And on behalf of the AVM family, Gohan's grandmother, Mrs. Rajeshwari Meiyappan, attended the function. She was already sitting on the dais when Shivaji entered. He went straight, touched her feet, did his one namaskaram, and then came and sat down. That evening at home, I asked him, Chettiyaar theriyude, Rajeshwari amma kaalla yen vizhundinga? Ada poda and amma illenna na inga illada. I said, what happened? He said, பராசக்தி போது ரொம்ப நேரம் எடுத்தாங்க, எல்லாம் பண்ணாங்க. 1950 ஆரம்பிச்சு 52 ரிலீஸ், 2 வருஷம் இங்கே தான் உட்காந்துருந்தேன். அப்போ அவர் கேட்டார் ஒரு கேள்வி, டே இந்த ஏவிஎம்ல ஃப்ளோருக்கு நடுவில் மரம்லாம் இருக்குமே, இன்னும் இருக்குதாடா? இருக்குப்பா, அதெல்லாம் வளர்ந்தது செட்டியார் விட்ட தண்ணீர் இல்லடா, இந்த கணேசனோட கண்ணீர். 2 வருஷம் ஆச்சுரா, என்ன பண்ணுறதுன்னே தெரில. எல்லாரும் எனக்கு வேட்டு வைக்க ஆரம்பிச்சிட்டானுங்க. கிருஷ்ணன் பஞ்சுவில் பஞ்சு வாஸ் நாட் ஹாப்பி வித் மீ, கிருஷ்ணன் வாஸ். 2 ப்ரொடியூசரில் பெருமாள் முதலியார் வாஸ் ஹாப்பி வித் மீ, மெய்யப்ப செட்டியார் வாசன்ட். So I was facing opposition everywhere. I thought I'm out. When Mrs. Meiyappan saw the rushes, told her husband, there is something in this boy. Don't lose him. If you think he's puny, if you think he's thin, make him sit down, feed him. We can always add weight. You can't add acting to a person. And they did that. For 6 months, Shivaji was fed biryani morning, evening and night to bulk him up. And by the end of the film, you saw the performance. And the rest, as they say, is history. So he said, Andamma Deivanda anakku, Andamma Deivam. Trunda Chettiyaar M.K. Radhav கூப்பிட்டிருப்பாரு. பெருமாள் முதலியாரும் கிருஷ்ணனும் ராஜேஸ்வரி மெய்யப்பன் அம்மா மேடமும் இல்லைன்னா நான் இல்லை. Of course, that kind of talent they would have anyway emerged. Still, that was his way of saying, this is me. Next film, Andanal. This is another film which was shot with somebody, scrapped and then came back again. Originally, it was shot with an actor called Kalkata Viswanathan, who then essayed the role of Rajini's father in Moondru Mudichu. AVM saw, after 5,000-6,000 feet, he saw the film and he said, no, the desired thing is not coming. Go call Ganesan. And Shivaji by then had grown. From 52 Parasakti to 54 he had grown. 52 his salary was some 200 rupees a month or something here for 2 years. So then he said, Shivaji thought, இவங்க திருப்பி ஆரம்பிக்கிறாங்க. எப்படியும் ஒரு 6 மாதம் ஓடும். ஸோ when S. Balachandar came on behalf of A.V.Meiyappan to negotiate, he said, நான் வரேன், எனக்கு இது ஃபிலிமுக்குன்னு சம்பளம் வேணாம். He said, okay, 4 கேட்டுக்கோ. Because Shivaji had asked for 25,000. Meiyappan says it's a little too high, try to bring it down. No. Shivaji thought, okay, 25 minimum 50 days shoot பண்ணுவாங்க. சரி. He says, ask Chettiar if he'll give me 1,000 rupees a day. Yes, leaving Pandaribai out, leaving this fellow out, leaving that fellow out. சிவாஜி நில்லுங்க, இந்த பக்கம் பாருங்க, சரிங்க, இந்த டயலாக் பேசுங்க, கட், ட்ரெஸ் மாற்றிட்டு வாங்க, இப்படி வைங்க. மொத்த படத்தையும் அப்படி எடுத்துவிட்டு 18 நாளில் வேலையை முடிச்சிட்டாரா. அட்லீஸ்ட் அவர் செட்டியார் கொடுத்த 25 நான் வாங்கியிருந்தா கூட 7,000 ரூபா மிச்சமாயிருக்கும். கோபால்புரத்தில் இந்த வீடை நான் 7,000க்கு தான்டா வாங்கினேன், ஒரு வீடு போச்சுரா இந்த ஐரால அப்படி. எஸ் பாலச்சந்தர் டிட் தட் அந்த நாள். So many stories. Yeah, next please. Okay, that's A.V.Meiyappan with the Prime Minister Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru for Hum Panchi Ek Dal Ke, a film which won the National Award for him for Best Children's Film.
बच्चे हैं जहान के, बच्चे हैं जहान के, सब बच्चे हैं जहान के, हम बच्चे हैं जहान के.
Anbeva has many stories. In fact, S.P. Muthuraman's book, AVM's own book, they carry number of stories about how this film was made. MGR was most un-MGR like while working for AVM. So much so that when the first song, which was in Simla, as he lands up there, it's shot in Simla, as he lands, the song takes off. Pudiyavanam, Pudiya Bhumi. MSV composers, everything is set. Okay, or AVM comes, listens to the song and says it's okay. Then he goes. As he's going, he says, "Yedukkum chinnavar or vaartha ketru. Anyway, just check up with MGR if it's okay." So they go to MGR. Mr. Saravanan and others go and sir, song ரெடியாக இருக்குது, ஃபைனல் டேக் போகிறோம், அதுக்கு முன்னால் வந்து நீங்கள் பார்த்து கேட்டுட்டு ஓகேன்னா. செட்டியார் கேட்டாரா? அவர் கேட்டால் நான் கேட்க வேணாம். ஸோ தே கம் பேக் அண்ட் டெல் விஸ்வநாதன் சேஸ் அப்படி தான் சொல்லுவார். அப்புறம் அங்கே சிம்லாவில் போய் பாட்டு சரியில்லைன்னா நின்றுடுவீங்க, மொத்தமாக போயிடும், தயவு செஞ்சு ரிஸ்க் எடுக்காதீங்கன்னு. தென் தே செட், no, we'll take a chance. He has clearly told us he's not going to go back. They went, they shot, everything was shot peacefully. The story itself was based loosely on Come September, and Trilok made a film for MGR which was most un-MGR like film. It was the first Eastman color film by AVM, and the beauty was makeup for different colors films differs. So they had to call makeup men from Bombay. So AVM sat and did the calculation, found that so many makeup men had to come, and hotel room, flight charges, this, that, the other, plus for him it is outdoor, so outdoor beta, which is always higher. He did all that calculation and then calls his makeup man T.M. Ramchandran and says, Ramchandra, பாம்பேல ஏற்பாடு பண்ணியிருக்கேன், நீ போ, ஒரு 2 வாரம் இருந்து கலருக்கு எப்படி போடுறாங்கன்னு கற்றுக்கிட்டு வா. So he sends him. Ramchandran learns the technology, comes back. For 2 weeks they had trial shoots. Maruti Rao, the cameraman, then between the makeup man and the cameraman and the lighting and everything else, they found the right balance of various tones, and they composed. I mean, the film was shot. That is one more story for Anbeva. I'm going to move into a non-film part of AVM, a lesser known part, which is his philanthropy. Not many people know that he was one of the earliest supporters of the Monday Charity Club, which went on to build Vishranti. One of the earliest donors for that was AVM. One of the earliest donors for Badrinath's Shankar Netralaya, AVM. One of the biggest contributors to Kamban Karagam, AVM. So he never advertised what he gave, what he did. He was generous to a fault, but he was very careful with money. As Sunil Dutt records in this very book, Engal Parvayil, பணத்தை கரெக்டாக கொடுப்பாரு, வேலையை கரெக்டாக வாங்கிப்பாரு. So he, in fact, when I was, for those 10 years, I did serials here, whose worth is salt was worked here, will confirm to you. You can bet that the check will be ready. You don't have to worry. Integrity to the core. At the same time, you are charging 10,000 rupees outside, they'll start by saying, 1,500 rupees பண்ணிக்கலாமா, knowing that you land up somewhere around 665 in the end. I'll never forget that conversation. I wanted a raise. So after my usual chit chat with Mr. Saravanan, எல்லாம் முடிச்சுட்டு இப்படி போகும்போது, சார் அந்த புது சீரியலுக்கு சம்பளம் அடுத்த சீரியலில் பார்க்கலாமே, அவ்வளோதான், நானும் போகிறேன் அவரும் போகிறார். எப்படி brilliant negotiators. But integrity, thy name is AVM. I'm so happy that subsequent generations are carrying on that principled life in the profession. So it's very rare to come across such people in this industry. Very rare. AVM bought 20 acres of land outside. In 10 acres, he made a house, 82 houses with balance plots. Plot was 2,000 rupees. 25% of the cost will be borne by AVM. Balance 75% will be adjusted in their salary at 50 rupees a month. He had already paid for the land in full. So that AVM colony is there. In 10 acres, he made a school because he said, my workers' children are here. They need to have a house. And for the children, they need to study. Even now, Avichi school is there. AVM matriculation school is there. That time there was nothing called CSR and all this. This is AVM's generosity. These are all standing testimonies to A.V.Meiyappan's desire to keep his people happy. That is something phenomenal. You cannot find that today. You cannot find that today, which is why I still consider Mr. M.S. Guhan one of the luckiest people, because he's got people working with in his company for the last 30 years, 40 years. Mr. Arjunan இருந்தா அவர் 50 years கம்ப்ளீட் பண்ணியிருப்பார். Mr. Saravanan told Mr. Arjunan, நீங்கள் எதுக்கு சார் வயசாகிடுச்சு, மந்த்லி நான் அனுப்பிச்சிடுறேன், நீங்கள் அங்கே இருங்க. இல்லை சரவணன், நான் வந்து பார்க்கணும் அண்ட் அப்படின்னு he will come. That was the loyalty they built. Why? Because they looked after all of them and those people were loyal. Simple arithmetic. He also took group insurance for everyone who worked for him. At the peak, this studio had around 2,000 plus people working here. Carpenters, molders, furniture makers, tailors, makeup men. நீங்க அவர் philosopher-னு கூப்பிடுங்க, philanthropist-னு கூப்பிடுங்க, film producer, studio owner, theater owner, director, producer, என்ன வேணா கூப்பிடுங்க. He was Apichi to 2,000 others also. That was his beauty. He was not Apichi only to his four sons and daughter. He was Apichi to everybody. That is why he inspired this kind of loyalty. This is how AVM advertised for Pavamanippu. He always thought something novel in his advertising strategy. He had a huge gas-filled balloon floating on top of Shanti Theatre with the AVM logo saying Pavamanippu. This was on top of the theatre. And the beauty was he also ran a song contest for this, which popularized the songs immensely. He was an innovator always. Yes, he wants to speak about the balloon for a second.
Yesterday evening, I got a call from Mr. Vinu Maman of MRF for something else, and he mentioned that my father and your grandfather were very good friends. MRF started as a balloon manufacturer and not as a tire factory. And the first balloon, your grandfather gave my father the opportunity to make a balloon for Pavamanippu. So this incident I mentioned to my father today. I said, I didn't know the name of the movie, but he said it's Pavamanippu. And I remember Maman Maple coming and talking about this to your grandfather.
So Madras Rubber Factory, one more Madras link on Madras Day. In fact, I must at this point of time acknowledge the huge contribution made by the children of A.V.Meiyappan, Mr. Saravanan, who for the last 10 years I've been chatting with him on his father, on their movies, Mr. Balsubramaniam and Mr. Kumaran, and Guhan more for, can I have a photo of this, can I have this, because he was more in access with the records. Thank you, three of you. And of course, the manner in which they have brought out books on their Tata. Not one, not two, including books in Hindi. This is the Hindi book called Pitashri, which probably is the closest translation to Apichi. In that, they have given, in the last, a compendium of Hindi film personalities who have worked for AVM, which was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. Let me just read out a few names of actors: Karan Dhawan, Raj Kapoor, Om Prakash, Sahu Modak, Pran, Kishore Kumar, Ashok Kumar, Jagdeep, Bharat Bhushan, Balraj Sani, Sunil Dutt, Vijay Garoda, Dharmender, Mithun Chakravarti, Mehmood, Rakesh Roshan, Biswajit, Jitendra. Mennida mudichirken. Come the ladies: Nargis, Nimmi, Nirupa Roy, Daisy Rani, Meena Kumari, Shobha Kote, Asha Parekh, Sadhana, Mala Sinha, Nutan, Leena Chandravarkar, Vaijantimala, Reena Rai, Bindya Goswami, Kajol, yeah, I had the pleasure of acting with her in Minsara. Nirdeshaks, directors: L.V. Prasad, Raja Paranjpe, Rishikesh Mukherjee, P.L. Santoshi, M.V. Raman, Krishnan Panju, A.L. Sinha. Music director: Shankar Jaikishan, Hemant Kumar, Chitragupt, Salil Chaudhary, Lakshmikant Pyarelal, S.D. Burman, Ravi, Madan Mohan, R.D. Burman, Bappi Lahiri, R. Sudarshanam. Singers: Geeta Rai, Talat Mahmood, Manna Dey, Kishore Kumar, Asha Bhonsle, Mohammad Rafi, Mukesh, Lata Mangeshkar and Usha Mangeshkar also. This is just to show that not a single big name in Indian film industry can say we have not worked with AVM. That is the mastery this man had. Till the end he did not know Hindi, and being an 8th standard person, he was conscious that he had to develop English proficiency. The method he adopted was thanks to Kasturi Rangaigar. He read the editorial every morning. He cut out the editorial every morning from the Hindu and took it with him to office with a dictionary. Any word he didn't understand, he will underline and find the meaning from the dictionary and try and use it once at least in a sentence that day, so that it sticks in his mind and becomes part of his vocabulary. So editorial of the Hindu is what contributed to A.V.Meiyappan's English. This is the famous film Uyarnda Manidan, the 125th film of Shivaji. Mr. Saravanan told me this story. First of all, they had a tough time convincing Shivaji to do this film. They then screened the original Bengali film called Uttar Purush. We showed him Uttar Purush. He saw the picture. He came out and said, I will do the film. Yes, it will be my 125th film, but I don't want to do the hero. I want to do the doctor's role, what Ashokan did. Why? Adhan role. Now, then they convinced him and said, no, we are only taking the baseline from this. Krishnan Panju are going to beef up the screenplay in such a way that this character is the one that is going to really be highlighted. So please accept it. So then Shivaji is much with regret, reluctance, he says, okay, ungala number hai. Krishnan Panju will definitely do a good job. Film was going to go on when Shivaji turns around and asks Saravanan, and the doctor character yaar pandranga. Now Mr. Saravanan was a very, very close friend of actor Ashokan. He had promised Ashokan day nalla role rani pandra. He had promised him. So he said, la namba Ashokan pandra. Andal camp illa, meaning is from the opposition side. Illa sir, vandu swathipiduva ya venunte. Illa sir, paathupa sir, I am good friend sir, na commit pante. Dayu senji. Seri paathukopa. Left it. On the day that scene was supposed to be shot, director explains to Ashokan, everything was over. Then suddenly Shivaji comes to director and says, excuse me sir, Ashoka, I know the role, I know the dialogues also. Now, and Mr. Saravanan says he was watching it. And Shivaji did that piece, including that heart attack and all that. He did an extraordinary performance and then says, and then goes. And Ashokan was a little taken aback. So he goes up to Mr. Saravanan and says, Sir, avan nejamave solli kuttara illa ena kauga paakaraara illaya yo adnal pannadhula oru 30% pandra nee panna podunda pass periya per vandrunda avanakku appdin solli. That is how that part was done. Other part was friend Dilip Kumar from Bombay hears about this film and gets in touch with the Bombay manager, one Mr. Chinnan Menon. Am I right? That's the name given anyway. Chinnan Menon. And Chinnan Menon is asked, I want to see this film, Uyarnda Manidan by Shivaji. So he calls up Chettiar. Chettiar says, yeah, I'll send a print. So he sends a print to Bombay. And by then Dilip Kumar says, I have moved to Kulu Manali for a shoot. So please ask them to bring it here. So Chinnan Menon goes to Kulu Manali, screens, he watches, comes back. At that time, Ram or Sham shooting is going on here or something for Vijaya Vahini. Anyway, Dilip Kumar was shooting here. So he comes to Madras, meets Meiyappan and says, I have my team of writers also. I'd like them to see it and suggest some few things. Okay, so we'll do the film. Sure. So Mr. A.V.Meiyappan gives him an advance. He goes, comes back, next time it happens, they call Krishnan Panju. Krishnan Panju say they are doing an MGR film and therefore they can't leave that and come. So they say, Variyara director podungo. So they tell Dilip Kumar, sorry, same director not available. He says, I have heard of one young man called K. Balachandar, call him. So they call K. Balachandar. So Balachandar, AVM, his children, Dilip Kumar, all of them sit down for a discussion. When our man Dilip Kumar comes and says, nice, we'll do the same thing, but there are few things which, I don't want to do. Like that scene where he's sitting in the office and his food comes from the house and he says, what is this? Like a hospital patient, the food is. And then his driver's daughter brings some food which is really flavorful and hot, and he nalla rasichu saaptittu this tiffin box comes home full. Wife gets upset and says, what is this, that, the other. He keeps quiet. Very emotional scene. And then when she accuses him of something, pattan or he'll give a slap. That scene I can't do. That's not the way, I mean, it's not that way. It's not doesn't happen in the north. Everybody is silent. Javar Sitaraman, who was the man who conceived this scene, is sitting there. He is also silent. AVM, Balachandar, all of them are silent. Then he says, there is that song, no, with the walking stick, Shivaji walks and talks and does. That I don't want to do that. We'll make it a scene. My friend and I, my driver and I will sit down in that salubrious atmosphere, and I'll tell him how it was in those days and all that. All the words in the song will make it a conversation. So like this, there are a few changes which I have. We'll do the film, sir. I'll go to Bombay and get in touch. Okay. Next morning, A.V.Meiyappan calls up Mr. Chinnan Menon. Please call Dilip Kumar and tell him that we are not interested in doing the film, because two scenes which I thought were the soul of the film, he says he doesn't want it. Why can't he simply tell me he cannot act like Ganesan? I would have accepted that. Instead of that, he's going around saying this scene vana, and this scene vana. Of course, they went and asked him for the money back, and Dilip refused, saying, I have spent money. I have spent 2-3 days working on this script. I have sat with my writers, this, that, the other. So AVM said, leave it. Don't ask for the money. So I am finishing with this, because I think what can be more appropriate end to a talk on A.V.Meiyappan, Uyarnda Manidhan. Thank you very much. Yes.
Uyarnda Manidhan படத்தில் தான் இந்த ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ஃபீமேல் பிளேபேக் சிங்கர் நேஷனல் அவார்டு கிடைச்சது. நாளை இந்த வேலை.
Yeah. Okay. Good point. P. Sushila got the national award for the first female playback singer for the song in Uyarnda Manidhan. நாளை இந்த வேலைக்காக ஓடிவானி வேலை பார்த்து ஓடிவானிலா. சென்னையில் ஃபஸ்ட்டுனா என்ன டாக்கியா இதுவா டாக்கி ஸ்டுடியோவா? டாக்கி ஸ்டுடியோ ஸ்ரீனிவாசா சினிடோன் புர்சுவாக்கம் ஹை ரோட்டில் ஏ நாராயணன்கிறவர் ஆரம்பித்தார்.
Why there's a break before Murattukade and the break after Shivaji? Our AVM, there is a little
film
break before Murattukade.
The complexion of the film industry has changed, continues to change. So either they want to risk it all or risk nothing. Yep. Anything else?
I have one question. So he directed, AVM Meiyappan directed like Sabapati in 1941. So 1940s, like the industry is very new, and like he decided to move in, and he
Hold your mic closer.
He directed a movie by himself. Then he started producing the movies also.
No, he was producing first, then directed.
Yeah, this movie also he produced.
Yes.
But like if he's a director, like how come he decided to get into production full-fledged?
He was already in production, so he didn't decide to get into production.
Okay.
From 1934, he's been making movies.
Okay.
This he did only in 1940.
41.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you, Mohan. Thank you very much. And thank you, Mr. Guhan, for all the hospitality and for throwing open this place for us. So thank you very much for everything, and thank you all for having been such a wonderful audience today.
One more thing. Please go around and see all these exhibits. These cars have got a history. Please